Good morning, everyone. In today's class, we're going to take a look at how we can utilize computer-generated diagrams as well as charts and graphs. And that's part of our week 2 objective, right? We want to build that instructional image portfolio. And today we're really focusing on those computer-generated diagrams, charts, and graphs. Now, there are a lot of different computer programs that can generate charts and diagrams and graphs. One of the simplest is Microsoft Excel. That's kind of what I want to start with today. We're not going to go over all the details on which types of charts to use and which types of graphs fit best with which scenario, right? This isn't a statistics class, but I do want to show you how to work with these plots once we get them. Okay, and hopefully you can learn in that stats class how to obtain these and what the best graph is for the job and that sort of thing. Okay, now here we have an Excel document. We have some made up data here. And what I did is I took this data, I went to my insert tab, and then there's lots of options here for different charts and graphs for us to make. Okay, so here we made a scatter plot. It's not important what kind of plot it is. What is important is we want to take this graphic and we want to use it in our instructional materials. Okay, so we want to somehow get this graphic into our instructional materials. How can we do that? Right, well, there's lots of different options, and some are better than others depending on what program we're working with. So I'm just going to show you kind of a couple different ways here. I think probably the most obvious that a lot of you are familiar with is we can copy and paste. So I can Control C or hit right click and copy this image just by clicking on it there. And then we could go into our PowerPoint or whatever our instructional materials are. Maybe it's a Word document. And we just can Control V to paste. And you can see this gives us a pretty good plot here. And I think this is probably obvious to most students, but sometimes the formatting gets caught up and it changes and you don't get a great plot. So I want to show you there are a couple options when we go to paste something. So it's the first thing I want to talk about today. So when you right click in PowerPoint, notice under paste options, there are several options here. Okay, we can use the destination theme. We can keep the source formatting. Right, we can link our data. And probably the one I use most frequently is this last one, paste as picture. Okay, and you notice that each one is changing what our picture looks like a little bit here. Some of them are changing, looks like the y-axis. Notice here it's 120, and then as we move over, it goes to 100. Okay, so sometimes the source formatting or the formatting gets in there and it throws off your plot a little bit. So whenever you want to just copy something as is, you don't want to deal with all this extra formatting and extra details, we can just hit paste as picture. Okay, and that's nice because that allows us to easily resize no matter what we pasted, even if it's a table. But that's kind of the first thing I wanted to talk about today. I know it's pretty basic, but I found it extremely useful as both a student and a teacher. Sometimes when you go to paste things, they do not paste properly. There's all sorts of different formatting things that come up. But if you just right click and hit paste as picture, okay, usually you don't have to worry about any of those. We get an exact copy of whatever it was that we copied in that picture form. Okay, so now we know how to copy a picture over quickly, but let's say we wanted to add some editing to this graph, right? We wanted to put on some secondary structure here. Maybe you wanted to use a photo editor to add in some labels or a team logo or something, whatever. Okay. But if we wanted to take this into a photo editor, we can't copy and paste there. Okay, so we're going to need to take this graph here and turn it into an image file. Now, this kind of varies depending on the program. Probably the simplest option will be similar to Excel, where if you right click, you get an option to save as picture. Okay, so save as picture is another great option. It's a little longer than copying if you want to just move it into Excel, but if you want to open it up in any kind of image editor or something that needs that image file type, you can just right click, save as picture. You do have a couple types here. Okay, I would recommend JPEG for most instances, but you do have the other options, right? The PNG and the GIF and that sort of thing. Now, finally, let's say you're working with a program that's not Excel. There is no easy way to copy that image. There is no easy way to save as a picture. Okay, well, we do have one more trick if all else fails. There's many ways you can take a screenshot. On Windows, I like to use the snipping tool. We click snipping tool there. You can just click the new button and it's just drag and drop. Okay, so if we click snipping tool, we drag and drop over our plot here. And it gives us our image here to work with. Okay, here I didn't quite get the top border, so I might want to retake this. But once you have this picture here, you're able to copy and paste this one, or you can click on the save icon to save it as a picture. Okay, so sometimes you'll have different computer programs that don't let you copy a picture or don't let you save as picture. You can always take a screenshot of such a thing and include it that way. So this is just one more option on how to get that picture into that workable file format. All right, we've seen that in action now with Excel. Let's take a look at SPSS, another program you'll probably use a good bit in our program here at UNR. Here we have created a bar graph. So we can go ahead and have a couple options here. Once we get that graph made, we can copy, similar to before, or we can export. Okay, so SPSS doesn't have a save as picture option. Instead, it has an export option. So let's kind of look at both of these. First, let's try copying and pasting. So if I hit copy, and if I go over to PowerPoint here and Control V, notice that it does not copy the background. Well, that might be something that's okay if you want to use your background, or you might take a look at that and say, well, that's really hard to read. So let me undo that. Okay, Control Z is undo if you don't know what I'm pushing here. And then remember, we can go to our different paste options. We know pasting using that theme doesn't quite look great. So what we can do instead is come over here to paste as picture. And you can see we get our nice graphic that looks just like it did in SPSS. And we're able to just drag and drop on the corner to resize that. Okay, so remember that paste as picture option really helps a lot depending on what you're copying. Sometimes it's the best option by far. And yeah, so try that out. We also have the export option, coming back to SPSS. Right, if we wanted to save this as a picture, we don't have that save as picture option, but we do have export here. If I push export, we get this pop-up window. Okay, and we get lots of options here. It's going to output it into a document for us, so we can tell it to output it into a Word document, into a PowerPoint, into a text file, that sort of thing. Why don't we just leave it as a Word document? And then it lets us kind of choose some options on the file type. Or in this case, it does not let us choose options, I guess. But it will output a ping file, .png, which is an image file, into a Word document here when we export this image. Okay, so I'm going to show you what that looks like. So we exported it, and it just put this file into a Word document for us, this picture. Okay, so now this picture is something that we can copy and paste. And now that it's in Word, we can also save as a picture. Okay, so there's kind of a little bit of an extra step here with the SPSS since it puts it in Word and then we have to go get it out of Word. But it's a way to get to that save as picture option. And then once we save it, okay, we'll probably go JPEG here. Then we can work with that in our image editor and add that secondary structure as needed. Okay, so we've talked about how to handle graphs and tables and charts that we get as an output from our statistics programs. Okay, that's very useful. That's something we're going to need to use a lot to create different instructional materials when we're comparing different groups of data. But sometimes we'll need to create our own images, right? Our own diagrams, things like flowcharts and such that don't have these quantitative properties. So we do need an editor to help us do that. Okay. There are lots of editors out there. You can make a lot of basic diagrams in your presentation software as well. Okay, PowerPoint or Canva or Google Slides. You'll be able to make a lot of different diagrams in that if you'd like. But if you'd like a tool specifically for diagram creation, there's a lot of those available as well. I've used Lucidchart in the past, but I did want to shop around a little bit, see if there's another maybe simpler one to get a hold of. I found this app, draw.io, or you can get here by going to diagrams.net. What I like about this one is it's quick to start. There's no login, and it's free. So you can literally pop into this from any computer, even if you're on campus, you're not working from your home computer, and you can start working right away. Okay, so in an era where everything needs two-factor authentication and we got to text you a code just so you can start working, like it's nice to have something that you can just start right away, no login required. So this is draw.io, and we're going to go over some kind of basic diagrams in this. Now, to get started, obviously, we're just going to click on our Start button here. It asks us where we would like to save our diagram to, and you have some options here, or you can always decide later. And you can see here we have some different tools available to us. Under the General tab here on the left, we have various different shapes. We have little stick figures. We have arrows. Okay, so plenty of secondary structure that we can add to our images or use to create diagrams and flowcharts and that sort of thing. And you can see here we have, in the miscellaneous tab, we have some things for charts. We have some advanced shapes, right? So just lots of options here. To utilize these shapes, we can click on them and drag them around. We can also line things up. Okay, we get nice visual indicators when things are centered, aligned left and right, that sort of thing. So that's always nice. Let's say we wanted to build a quick flow chart. Maybe we're wondering, is it hot outside? Okay, so we're going to have a quick flow chart here. We want to know, is it hot outside? And that's going to be a yes or no option. Why don't we add some arrows? Okay, they give us lots of ways here that we can kind of click and drag to remaneuver things. We have the nice grid in the background to keep things organized. Okay, this will be our yes arrow. Yes, it is hot outside. And we'll have another option on the bottom that says, no, it's not hot outside. Right, so we're just making a basic flow chart here. We got our shapes, we got our arrows. Let's say if it is hot outside, we're going to wear shorts. If it's not hot outside, we're going to wear pants. Okay, so very basic flow chart there, but it kind of hopefully gives you the idea of how this works. I think this is a pretty cool program that hopefully you guys can play with a little bit. We get lots of customization here on the right. Hopefully my picture's not too much in the way. But as we click on our shape, okay, we can change the background. We can change different options over here, the font and the fills and that sort of thing. Here's our text options if we want to make that bigger or bold, right? Or change the font type. Lots of different stuff here. But I think this is a pretty good tool for you guys to play with. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. And I think you should just try it out and experiment with it. And for our portfolio this week, we will be creating some images and some diagrams. So try this out if you'd like. If you're already comfortable with another program, if you're really good with Lucidchart, stick with that. That's totally fine. But if you've not messed around with any of these kind of diagram generators yet, then try this one out. I think it's pretty good. There's nothing to install, no account required, so it's really easy to get started, and you got plenty of options here. Now, I do want to show you guys one more feature that Draw.io has to offer, and that is the fact that we can import an image and kind of create directly on top of that. Right? So we have this nice clean background if we want to create a diagram or a flowchart, but sometimes we want to create labels on an image, or maybe we want to add secondary structure to add signaling or text or that sort of thing to an image. So what we can do is we can go to File, Import From, and this menu will allow us to bring in an image to work directly on top of. Okay, so we'll do File, Import From. In my case, my picture is on my device, right, my computer. So I'm going to do Import From Device. Why don't we open our UFO picture from yesterday, and we can work on top of this picture here to kind of show you how this works. As soon as the picture's been imported, we have the ability to resize. Okay, so maybe we want the picture about here. That looks good. And now when we insert our shapes, we can insert them directly on top of our image to add that secondary structure. So if you don't need the adjustment power of an image editor, right? We don't need to change the brightness or the saturation or any of that sort of thing. We don't need to remove backgrounds. Well, Draw.io is a great option to just import an image and add some signaling, add some text, add some labels, right? It gives us all that capability in a pretty quick editor here. So let's add some signaling. We have UFOs. I think that's the key part of our picture here. Why don't we put a big circle around our UFOs? And you'll notice this circle, we can't see through it. It has fill. So we can come over to the right here on our menu. Hopefully my head isn't in the way, but you can uncheck that fill box. And now we just have our ellipse here. And we can resize that. And we'll move it a little bit so that we can really capture these UFOs. Okay, so now we've circled them. We're signaling to the viewer. Check this out, right? This is important. But right now that line is pretty faint. Okay, it's pretty skinny. Black doesn't stick out too well on this photo. So why don't we tweak our line? Okay, so we can come over here to our properties pane. The line, why don't we change the color? Maybe a bright red. We can hit apply. And then right now we have 1 point thickness on our line. Why don't we kick that up? Okay, so we can hit that plus here. Let's make it 10 point. So that sticks out nice and obvious there. Okay, we do have some other options. We can change it to a dash line if we'd like, or that sort of thing. But now we've added some signaling, right? We've added a big circle. Hey, look over here. This is what is important in our image. What other types of secondary structure can we add? Maybe we want to add some text. Okay, we could add a shape and type in that shape to add text. We can also come over here to our plus, right, that insert pane on the top. And we have different options here as well. And one of them is text. We can insert text. Maybe we'll write UFOs, a bunch of exclamation points. Right, and we'll put that over our ellipse here. We'll align those center so they look nice and good. Okay, well, once again, that doesn't stick out very well. The text is pretty small, and that black doesn't do a great job standing out. So why don't we come over to our properties pane on the right. With style, this will be how we edit our rectangle that text box is in. We want to instead click our text properties. Now we can change our color. We'll go with that bright red again. And then we can change our size. Okay, why don't we keep clicking that till we're maybe size 40. That looks pretty good. right? We can move that around if we like. Maybe take a few of these exclamation points off. A little bit of overkill there. There we go. So now we've added our signaling. We've added some text. Okay, we can even add in some arrows if we'd like, right? More secondary structure. Now, when you add arrows on top of an image, they don't work great. Okay, I've just learned the hard way. My first attempt at recording this did not go well because I learned very quickly when you go to drag these arrows, what they do is they get auto-placed at the border. Okay, so they snap to the border. It makes it really hard to work with, right? My arrows are now out here for some reason. So what you have to do is when we click this point to move our arrow, it will automatically snap unless you hold Alt. Okay, so we can hold left Alt, and that'll allow us to freely place these arrows. Okay, so maybe we're going to point at this UFO circle. Okay, I'm holding Alt to move here. And then maybe, I don't know, maybe we're pointing at it from here. We'll do our bright color again. Oops, I'm on text. We'll go to style so that I can edit that arrow. And why don't we add some fill as well? We can fill that with the same color so we get a nice solid arrow here. Okay, so now we've added some signaling, we've added some text, added an arrow. If we really wanted to be fancy, we could even add, we got a little actor here. Could add things like that in. Now I'm making my little man here. Okay. Maybe this is our actor that's watching the UFOs. We do have that little label in there that I don't quite like, so I'm just going to delete that text. And maybe this is the person that has spotted the UFOs, right? And they're pointing at them, whatever. But the main idea is that this Draw.io program is an easy way to add that secondary structure, to add arrows, to add circles, to add text, right? To add different ways for you to signal to your learner what to look at, what's important, what the name of things are, right? And I think it's a great tool. So try this out. Next, we're going to check out our portfolio requirements for today, which is going to implement some of this Draw.io stuff. And so let's take a look there. So here is part 3 of our instructional image portfolio assignment. Okay, where we're making some diagrams, charts, and graphs. Similar to the other ones, okay, we're just trying to show these different concepts. I'd like you guys to create an instructional purposed photo with a mnemonic, relational, and interpretive strategy there. Okay, so the last kind of remaining 3 that we didn't have from part 1. And we're also going to add some secondary structure to our photos. We're going to add text to a photo. We're going to add some shapes and arrows to make a flow chart. And then I'd like you guys to show me some signaling to highlight something in that photo, whether that's arrows, whether that's underlines, whether that's a circle, right? Just some signaling there. Okay, so we're going to create these photos, and then we're going to combine everything together in a big portfolio. There were a lot of kind of requirements or characteristics that we were trying to hit through the 3 parts. So I did put together a checklist for you guys that has them all listed. We have our instructional purpose, right? There was 7 of those. There was some of the framing, shot distance, and so on. Remember, you don't have to hit all of these. You don't have to have one photo for each one of these. You can hit more than one. Okay, you can take a decorative photo that's in landscape, that's centered on something, that's a wide shot, right? So you can hit multiple of these. You're not going to end up with a photo for each one, but there are 37 different kind of boxes that we're looking to check. I know it's a lot, but hopefully We can take some images that meet multiple and it won't be so bad. On our checklist, I also added the points just so you guys can have an idea. I was able to kind of work it out where the instructional purposes is worth 4 points each. Our framing, shot distance, and lighting strategies are all 2 points each. And then our editing layers, right, the transformations, adjustments, layering, that sort of thing are 3 points each. Okay, so I think pretty straightforward there. Let's take a look at kind of some example slides. Here's kind of what I'm looking for. Let's go ahead and start that. So, taking a look at a picture. Okay, you're going to go out, you're going to take some pictures, you're going to insert them into a PowerPoint, and I'd just like you to tell me what tags you're looking to hit for that photo. So here we have a picture of a cactus. Okay, and this would count for a lot of tags in our assignment, right? This is a representational photo, right? We're representing our cactus. Maybe this is used in a biology class, right? This is a landscape photo since we're horizontal. I would call this an offset photo since this cactus is on kind of that third, right? That left 1/3. Remember our rule of thirds there. So we're definitely offset to the left with our cactus. I would call this a wide shot since we're wide enough to kind of see that area behind the cactus. I think I missed it here, but talking background, this would be a contextual background, right? So we could even add one more option there. It's outdoors, there's natural lighting, and this is a single image. So right away, we have all these. If you add in the contextual background, that's like 8 checks that we hit with that one photo. Okay, so hopefully this won't be too bad. If you guys want to strategize and try to hit as many as you can with one photo, I'm fine with that. I think that might be a fun way to kind of work on the project. But really, I just want you guys comfortable with this idea that there's lots of shots out there. There's lots of image editing techniques. There's lots of ways that we can kind of work with these instructional photos. So that's what it'll look like when we have a single shot. With the editing shots, I'd like you to show me the before and after. Okay, so let's say we're talking cropping. You would show me the before pic. You would show me the after pic next to it on the same slide. Right, and then I should be able to see whatever edit took place. So here we can clearly see we cropped this photo. Right, we started off as a landscape, now we're portrait. Right, we're not showing as much of that background. And now our picture's centered. So you can see by cropping this photo, we've actually changed quite a bit there. Now, as far as the remaining tasks I'd like you to work on today, I really want us to work on kind of trying out that new draw.io as well as working on this portfolio. So there's going to be no required reading today. I do have a couple videos on draw.io if you want to extend your learning a little bit. One is kind of just an overview for beginners. Maybe if my tutorial was a little confusing, you could check that out. And then I also have another video that shows us how we can actually use ChatGPT to write a flowchart for us, and then it'll give you the code that you can insert into draw.io and it'll make it for you. So that's kind of a cool way to use technology. So if you want to check that out, basically you ask ChatGPT to make a flowchart. It says, hey, make this, and then you say, can you put it in this type of code for me? And then you can use draw.io to actually build it. So pretty cool there. There is no quiz today. Okay, I want to give you guys plenty of time to focus on that portfolio, and we didn't introduce a whole lot of new content. It was more just new technology. So I don't really want to quiz you on that. I want you to go try that technology. And then our assignment, okay, we're really working on finishing that part 1 or that project 1, the instructional portfolio. I'll post that checklist for you guys. Please let me know if you have any questions on that. I want to try to keep that super simple where I'm really just checking to see if you have everything in there, if you have all the images. But if there's anything confusing, please let me know. I know that 37 is a lot of checkpoints, but hopefully it's pretty quick because some of them are very simple, right? So try all that out. Let me know if you guys have any questions at all, and then have a wonderful weekend.